Booking it. Today's episode will be Intro to the Odyssey. Hey everyone, and welcome back to Booking It. I'm, of course, your eloquent host, Cooper Cobb. Joining me today, over there, the tall man, Mr. Bryson Bostwick.
Hey everybody, we're back.
Really tall next to his microphone. And joining me on the short microphone over here is Mr. Tanner Lewis.
Howdy, folks. I totally forgot my microphone today. It's all my fault.
Tanner forgot his microphone, and we were trying to figure out how to sit so we can talk into both together simultaneously. And we were like, you know what? Raise the microphones up. We're standing and doing this. So it's a standing episode. We'll have a lot of energy. Unfortunately, today, the fourth member, Mr. Isaiah, is out of town.
Yes, our wonderful friend is not here.
But he killed a deer.
Yes.
So
We're celebrating death.
yeah, that's right. Exactly. I was going to say something like Isaiah killed a deer, and that's why he's not here because the authorities are after him. But it was legal. It was legal.
Yeah.
Anyway, it took us way too long to set up the recording because he wasn't here. So we miss you, Isaiah. Come back soon.
Please
come back.
put us out of our misery.
All right, guys. Well, today we're trying to get this done in 20 minutes because we have done so much podcasting that our provider is like, you can't do that without paying us. And so we're like, okay, we won't do as much. So we got to do this in 20 minutes. We're talking about the Odyssey, Tanner's car. And so nobody laughed at that. Okay. I was working up that joke for 2 days. I was like, oh, yeah, I'm going to say something about the Odyssey. And then Tanner's car and his minivan that he drives around.
Oh,
nobody
I didn't
laughed.
get it.
I
didn't get it.
I'm
That's
sorry.
why I didn't laugh.
So today, we just kind of want to do an intro to the Odyssey based on some supplemental reading that we have been doing on the Odyssey based on our introduction to the book that we have. We'll talk about translation later. And then we also have our guide that we are reading along, basically our worldview guide, our analysis guide, one might say, Heroes of the City of Man by Mr. Peter J. Lightheart, who has a PhD from Cambridge, or maybe Oxford, I forget, one of those universities. So anyway. We're just going to be kind of introducing the main themes, talking about them, getting us set up for mini episodes on the Odyssey coming up. So, all right. The first thing I want to talk about is kind of the importance of hospitality in the Greek culture. And this is something I've been thinking about a lot recently. But I just want to know, Bryson, hospitality, what comes to mind with the Greeks? You kind of know, are you familiar with their system? What's going on?
Not completely, no. You might want to explain that a little more.
We only briefly talked about this at that one part where I think it's Diomedes is wreaking havoc, on the Trojans.
Yeah.
And then he's like, my dad knew your dad.
Oh yeah.
They gave gifts to each other. That's so cool. I won't kill you yet, but I'll go kill your friends now. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, but that's kind of the only mention of it because, like you said, they're not really home. They're abroad. But that's kind of a main theme of the Odyssey. So this is from our introduction to the Robert Fagel's translation. It's by a man named Bernard Knox. The introduction is. So I assume he's some kind of Homeric scholar. So he says this theme is briefly stated the relation between host and guest, particularly the moral obligation to welcome and protect the stranger, an obligation imposed on civilized mankind by Zeus, one of whose many titles is Xenios, protector of strangers. Zeus of strangers, says Odysseus to the one-eyed giant in his cave, guards all guests and suppliants. So it's kind of this idea is hospitality is the moral obligation of the host to the guest. And so it talks about gift giving and things like that and how it's kind of a major thing because the whole point of the Odyssey is Odysseus is trying to get home, right?
Yes.
He's trying to get home to his family. And it turns out when he gets there, he disguises himself as a beggar, right? And he's not really welcomed in at all. And so then he reveals himself and is I'm Odysseus. And that kind of reminds me of Beauty and the Beast too, the old hag who's they want to kick her out, and then she's like, I am beautiful, and you are a beast. Anyway, Tanner, why don't you talk about hospitality and modern culture and how it kind of stinks?
Stinks?
Yeah.
Oh. Well, yeah. I mean, it does stink. We don't, I don't know. You knock on somebody's door and they're not going to let you in.
Yeah.
They're going to be like, what the heck do you want? Why are you here? Right? Leave.
Yeah, exactly.
Our hospitality kind of stinks.
We it's just non-existent. We don't really have it.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
That's true. U.S., let's talk about this. United States hospitality sucks.
Because we're so selfish and self-absorbed, and we're not willing to really give any part of our life away to someone else, to taking care of someone else.
Yeah.
And yeah, some other places that are good at that.
Any third world country ever.
I don't know. Well, from what I've heard, then yeah, I'd probably say they're willing to give in countries where like people have much less than we do. They're willing to give. It reminds me of Jesus and the watching the woman who gave all that she had into the offering at the temple. Like they're willing to give far above and beyond what they should give, like financially. Like they're willing to give all of their expenses, all of their resources to make you feel welcome, to make you to help you feel like they want you there. And in American culture, we kind of have gotten to the place where we really don't want to be around anybody except the people that we know and love, and we're not really kind to strangers in really any way, much less inviting them into our home. And
Isaiah's aunt was very closely connected with our family for a season, and during that season, Isaiah's aunt became a very good friend of our family. So we go and see her one time. She lives in California. We go see her in California. They are Romanian. And when we go to see her, we are just popping in to go see her. And she has a spread of hot cooked food, of just a table full of food for me and my family to eat at 3:00 in the afternoon, because that's her idea of hospitality. Her hospitality is come in, sit, eat, play. That's a very Romanian culture, which is something very contrary to the way that we live, particularly here in North Texas.
Yeah, I agree. I always remember, like, we went on a walk the other day, and we stopped at our neighbor's house, who are very good friends of ours. They do speech and debate with us as well. And Mom was like, hey, we should just, like, knock on their house and, like, go on a walk. I was like, that's just, like, it felt, like, so weird to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they're probably doing stuff, and we're going to be intruding upon, like,
yeah, yeah, that's another thing. Another part of it is we're so busy. In our culture, we're always going. In America, like, we're never really willing to slow down and be a part of someone else's life. Because we don't really care about relationships as much as we should.
Yeah, and it's also this idea of we're kind of just suspicious of everybody. Yeah. Like, why do you want to come inside my house again? Like, am I supposed to open my doors? And just,
yeah.
No, I'm not sure we can go back to that now, but I think it's kind of a fun ideal.
Yeah,
I like it.
Danny and I were kind of talking about that the other day about like trust.
I think we should go back to it. I disagree with Cooper. Let's burn our calendars.
What?
Okay, we can keep the calendars and go back, I guess.
Yeah, but Danny and I were kind of talking about that the other day, just about trust, and like our culture has gotten to the point. I was watching Uncharted the other day, and basically the whole point of the movie is like, don't trust anyone, and that's like the moral of the movie is you can't trust anyone. And it kind of, I can see where you don't want to trust people with like your entire life, but you want to be willing to give them at least as much
trust
as you like.
Is a necessary part of living.
Yeah, I mean,
living with other people. You
have to be willing to trust that the person next to you on the street's not going to run into you with their car whenever you're driving. You have to be willing to trust that. I mean, ultimately, you need to be trusting God that He's going to protect and provide for you, and just like it's become such a natural part of who we are to trust no one, and to just never really, like you said, not be willing to give up a part of our life to encourage them to like give of ourselves and be willing to encourage them, strengthen them, like just spend time with people, whether they're hurting or whether they're joyful, like no matter what's going on, always being ready to lay down our lives. That's a part of sacrifice, I think. That's a part of who we are as Christians, is being willing to do anything, set aside our time to
walk,
minister
to go the
gospel.
extra mile with someone, the Good Samaritan, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I love so this is from our Heroes of the City of Man. Lightheart talks about how really hospitality and those that show it are the good guys of the Odyssey. Like in the Iliad, it's famously very ambiguous. Like, is Achilles the hero? Mm-hmm. Not really. You guys disagreed that Hector, was very likable, even though we very obviously won the debate about that. So, but what he talks about here is that hospitality is really like the key issue of the epic. The suitors that Odysseus has to come and basically kill all of them. But because they've been like trying to get after his wife while he's been away, they're the bad guys because they abuse the hospitality and wealth of Odysseus' house. And the worst monsters in the Odyssey are the ones that refuse to show hospitality to strangers. So food and hospitality are all like interconnected and major themes of the Odyssey. And yeah, I think it's sad that we in our culture today we kind of have lost sight of that.
Yeah.
All right, well, next, let's talk about Odysseus as a hero. So Achilles and Hector, we kind of talked about them being a hero. Would you say Odysseus is a hero?
Odysseus as a hero. I mean, let's start off with one thing. The man doesn't rage as much as Achilles does.
And I very much appreciate that. Like,
yes.
He's much more of a crafty kind of guy,
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and he also, he's not Hector who's just like, it's gonna go protect people, yay, the gods love me, yay.
He actually is willing to work for it. He's
exactly.
He's doing the work himself.
He's a hard worker. I
Yeah.
mean, as far as a hero goes, like a man who is admirable and, could be looked after, I'm sure that he's a good one. I mean, we're told as in the Bible to be wise as gentle as doves and crafty as serpents, right? He's not exactly gentle, but I mean he is crafty.
Yeah, it's one of the weirdest like parables for me is like the shrewd servant, right? And the master's like, "Well done, you guy. You were kind of doing like some little, shrewdness there. Nice job." And be like that. I'm like, "Oh, okay, yeah."
Yeah, and Odysseus is the only one really that's willing to speak truth into Achilles, into the life of Achilles, without like berating him, I guess, because without a personal how do I explain it? Without a personal distaste or dislike for Achilles, like because Agamemnon is totally willing to go after Achilles, like he's willing to speak all sorts of stuff about him, but not. I guess that's where you could say he has maybe a little bit of gentleness, is when he's speaking to Achilles, when he's telling him, okay, man, you got to get back in the battle, like we're gonna lose without you, and he doesn't convince him the first time, and I don't think Odysseus isn't the one that convinces him in the end. It's Patroclus dying.
It's Patroclus dying.
Yeah, but he's the only one that's willing to like
try and actually like get to Hector.
Yeah.
Achilles. I'm sorry.
Get out there.
Have some heart, man.
Exactly, and challenge him to do what he said he was going to do.
Dying out there. Okay.
And so I guess you could say he has a little bit of gentleness in that. Obviously, not like physical gentleness because he's a man in war. But
yeah, I would say he's definitely much more of a hero than Achilles is, because he has a good goal to get home to his wife, to be home,
and we'll eventually see. Yeah, reading Odyssey, we'll see a whole lot more of this. Hopefully,
right.
This gentle side of him that we didn't really get to see a whole lot of.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely a schemer. He's definitely a guy who's gonna do whatever it takes to get his men home and himself home.
Mm-hmm.
And he gets like the opening line, right? He gets driven time and again off course by many women, by many sirens, by many battles and places like that. So it's not like he's perfect, but he is a kind of hero. He has a goal he's driving at, and it's flawed. But I think he's overall can be described as a hero. I mean, he's been the hero of Western civilization, right? Like just capital H hero of the archetype of what a hero is, for so long. So I think that'd be really weird for us to say, no, he's not a hero. Instead of talking about like, okay, what kind of hero is he? What faults does he have? What does he succeed at? That kind of thing.
Yeah. Especially after, what was it, in Essentials, where we all had to write papers on the Trojan War and the horse.
Mm-hmm. Is that the pictures?
Yeah, I think it actually was one time. And like we learned, that was the first time I'd ever heard about Odysseus, and I was like, oh yeah, he's a great guy. He's the hero that's going to lead everyone to final victory. But yeah, it'll really be interesting to take a look at this homely side of him, hopefully, or just this journeyman side of him as well.
The wanderer.
The wanderer.
Voyager.
Exactly. Yeah. But
yeah. Well, last thing I guess I want to talk about is kind of the idea of the return. So like there's some poetry in Greek that we no longer have. It's called like nostos, all the returns of like Menelaus and Agamemnon and everybody and Ajax and those people. But return is a big idea in the Odyssey of Achilles is trying to return home and set things right in his kingdom. So obviously There's some very easy Christian parallels here. I'm not saying that those were like obviously intended by Homer, because they weren't. But I think there are some very true things we can draw about returning and making things right. So Tanner, do you want to kind of speak to that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So like, it's just, I mean, Odysseus, the man trying to go home. That's like kind of like the point of the story, right? He's coming back from the Trojan War, and he's trying to get back to where he belongs, right? With his wife, with his bride, with his family. And so I think that, I mean, I don't know a whole lot about this, even reading the introduction. I'm trying to forget about all of it because I want to be surprised, but that's just me. Anyways, somebody else speak to this.
I mean, the easy parallel is Christ coming home at the end of the ages and, redeeming his bride and kicking out the devil, the serpent.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of the idea.
That's what he's going to have to do. He's going to have to displace all of the
suitors.
Yeah.
That's trying to deceive his bride, So.
And
bye-bye.
Who
and
is
also,
the bride?
we can keep going. She's not really sure it's him. She's going to test to make sure that it's him, just like 1 John. Test and make sure that all the spirits that come to you are legit, because not all of them are. There are many antichrists.
Yeah, so could we be paralleled with the church? Would the church be the
we
one?
are the church, yeah. So we are Penelope.
Yeah.
Okay,
Interesting.
it's kinda
We're
weird.
in the story, guys.
Well, metaphorically speaking.
Yeah,
yes. All right, anything else to say before we move on to donor shoutouts?
Donor shoutouts already?
Well,
wow, man. That feels so short.
We're at 18 minutes. So anyway, thank you guys for listening to that. It's very short, but it's kind of a quick setup for we actually get into talking about the book. And Tanner, give us some stuff about people where they can go and support us.
Stuff about people.
Yes, stuff for people. So, if you want to be able to follow us outside of the podcast, you can go to our website, 412podcasting.com, and we have some pretty amazing stuff out there. Me and Cooper are posting some blog posts. I believe that Bryson is cooking up one in his brain right now. We're not exactly sure what it's going to be about. It's going to be amazing, though. We also have an Instagram account where you can follow some of our exploits.
By the way,
exploits.
Something needs to be said about Instagram. My mom
is
mortified that we quoted her as referring to Instagram as the demon app, and she would like to say that that's incorrect. So we're sorry about that, and she thinks that it's very damaging, but not quite demon level. So anyway.
Anyways, Instagram, we don't encourage it, but if you have it, use it. And then finally, there is I'm missing one more thing. Newsletter, yes. On our website, we have a newsletter. You can go to 412podcasting.com/newsletter, and you can subscribe to our newsletter. We send that out every month, and it has some pretty amazing stuff about what's happening with us during the month. Anyways.
All right, Bryson's going to shout out our donors, which support us at patreon.com/booknet for $5 or more. So, Bryson, take us.
Yeah. Well, we'd like to say thank you so very much to Nana, to Van Pappy and Wayla, to Isaiah's grandparents, Moses and Zara, to Aunt Jenny and Uncle Sam, to Mr. Mike and Miss Laura, to Anna, Emily, Keenan, Howdy, Jenny, and Miss Hall. Thank you so much. We love you guys.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. Hey, hope you enjoyed this episode.
Yeah.
Be back next week.
We are so excited. I did not think I would be excited about this, but I actually am.
And Odyssey's pretty fun. It's a classic. It's going to be great. We're going to talk about it. So, until next time.
Keep on booking it.